Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. And as you all know, I know that we all are recovering from what happened yesterday. So today, more than ever, I just feel like it's so important for all of us to just hold space, to be who we are, to live a greater story. And to me, that means you're the creator of your life. And we are being challenged to really hold that space to create the peace we want to see in the world, to be the peace that we want, to show each other compassion and open-mindedness, and just be so accepting of everyone right now. And so I'm so happy to have as my guest today, more than anybody, who's so able to be that someone who can facilitate all of us to hold that space to elect autonomy. And she will tell you more about that later. But Justice is this amazing healer, as you all know her. And I think she has training in matrix energetics. She used to teach matrix energetics, and she creates matrix energetics for kids. She is a hypnotherapist and massage therapist and so much more. And what I find so refreshing about working with Justice is that she is able to hold space for this idea of play. And talking about her recovery from many years of addiction, she was saying how she got connected to this idea of play and authenticity, and that helped her to overcome her addiction many years ago. So I think today she will talk about electing autonomy and a little bit about how she got started in all this. So without any further ado, this is Justice, everybody. Justice Bartlett.
Thank you, Jade. Thanks for asking me to be here today.
Thank you.
Thanks to everybody who joined. I know the energetic temperature right now out there is really kind of a mixed bag. Like there's a lot of people who got exactly what they wanted, and there's a lot of people who are really disappointed, disheartened, and afraid of the current outcome that we're sitting with. And I want to welcome you in whatever state you're in. If you are celebrating because you see the results of this current election as a reflection of the reasons why you voted and of your values, then I want to celebrate with you. I want you to dwell in that and share that and spread that joy around in whatever way you can. If you are of the other camp and you are afraid and you are grieving and you are uncertain about what tomorrow holds for yourself because of the way that you live your life or who you are or some friend or loved one, and I want to hold that state for you as well. And we can do this. We are such vast beings. We're so multifaceted and so complex. We can celebrate and we can grieve at the same time. We can be afraid and we can choose love. We can be sad or angry and still be choosing to hold space and show up for ourselves and each other. We're very complex, and I think there's just evidence of that all over the internet today. I was reading a friend's post who was a teacher at a school, and some young child was saying how they were afraid they were going to be deported, or there was this story that one of their friends was saying, like, oh well maybe he's going to be deported, and this woman who actually worked there was like, well, the only reason that would happen is if he was an illegal immigrant anyways. Like, she said this to a child, just total lack of connection and consciousness. And I read this and I was like, whoa.
And
then
she
I was
sent the child to school with the birth certificate. And I'm like, oh God, I don't have my birth certificate because no, everybody knows I'm the second born where I wasn't supposed to be born in a country.
Oh, you little
I
illegal.
wasn't counted.
Oh, no.
So when I read the stories, like all kinds of alarms actually went off in me, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't even have a birth certificate. And
that triggered you.
huh?
That triggered you, huh?
Yeah, that kind of like, oh my God. And then it's so hard that I have to remind myself that we can all choose to create this other reality. I mean, the whole point, why so many people come to America, people like me, why we choose to be here is because we have a greater choice. Even though things don't always turn out the way we want to, just having the ability to come out and verbalize. And I know this is going to be put on YouTube, and that I don't have too much fear saying what I need to say right now. Just that is such a gift of democracy. So the whole of democracy is not in tatters. Democracy is what every single person contributes, not what one person, because one person cannot be that controlling.
Yeah.
We all treat him like
way more than one person to build this country. It will take way more than one person to take it down.
Absolutely. So when I thought about, the whole birth certificate thing, I realized there's so much to be grateful for, that I'm allowed to be here in the first place, that every single one of us, whether we are first generation immigrants or second or third or have been here forever, we get to participate in creating the greater story of all of us in this democracy. And if we don't want to use ideas like democracy, we simply get to create a community where people can be kind and compassionate. It doesn't matter what the ideology is, what the name we choose to name those outside things. What matters is that in everyday life, we get to choose a different way of being.
And to finish off my story about this little boy, that's exactly what happened with these two women who work with him. They both immediately surrounded him. And what I noticed was, okay, so if every unconscious person who either deliberately or accidentally says or does something in these coming times, there are two people who stand up and say, that's not okay, and you can't talk to this person this way, and you can't do this, and immediately go in to correct that situation. We're in pretty good shape, because that's what I noticed right off the bat. Here's this little boy who's in this very tender position. Here's this lady who said this really awful thing, and then here are these two women. They sound like birds swooping in, like, whoop, like on either side of them. Like, no, you can't talk to him that way. And I think that's an important thing to remember in the coming times, is that it is each of our responsibility to continue to choose to stand up for what we value and what we find important. I was writing to children are like on my radar today, because they're the future, and I think they were really impacted by the whole environment of what was going on in a very big way this time. And was writing to this other little girl who was just devastated that her friends were going to be deported. And the words that came up for me to say to her, I was like, sweetheart, like, fear is the food of the bigots, the racists, the misogynists. That's what they feed on. Like, you are a mini goddess. I am a goddess. We feed on love. So
that's beautiful. We feed on love. Oh my gosh.
And we feed love. We put love into our cook pot, and we dish it out, and we serve it to those who come to our door for nourishment. And that is going to be each and every one of our responsibilities, and as time goes forward. And it's really not any different than it ever has been. That's always been our responsibility. That is what we're accountable for. We're accountable for the energy that we bring into the room. We're accountable for our choices. We're accountable for our values. We're accountable for how we treat people, what we're creating with our energy and with our life. So that doesn't change. Despite what what heads up here come and go, what doesn't change is what we, the people as individuals and as a collective, are responsible for, and how we own up and how we be accountable for that. If anything, perhaps the attention will magnify that in a greater way, and instead of falling into these darker times, as is a potential fear, I know perhaps what will actually be the outcome is that as a people, we will strengthen in our unification, we will strengthen on our own sovereign identity, and we will each make the individual choices as to what we will and will not tolerate in our lives.
Yeah. I really like the idea that things sometimes, well, I don't like the idea, but things sometimes have to get really, really bad before it becomes better. So this is like the darkness before dawn. And I couldn't help reacting to, all the results, not just the presidential elections, but the House and the Senate and all that. And it's like, oh my goodness. But we still have a choice in our everyday lives. What happens in government, thank God we have the kind of government that is not going to last forever. So it may be the next 4 years that a lot of things will come up for change, but that will help whichever side to build a new platform for change to happen within only 4 years. So I guess the good thing that we can look at is we have 4 years to really change things, or we have forever to actually change things. This is not a forever thing in our history at all. It's just one moment.
And it's everything is temporary, right? Whatever state you're in right now, unless if you were grieving, if you were sad, if you were afraid, you have it in you, and you have the right, and you really kind of owe it to yourself to feel those feelings, to let those feelings move through you. What you don't want to do is you don't want to unpack your bags and set up camp in that state and say, this is where I'm going to exist from now on, because ultimately that is going to weaken your position, that is going to weaken your ability to take care of yourself, to take meaningful action in your life, to use your energy in a creative way. So feel what you need to feel, feel the anger, feel the grief, feel the rage, feel the sadness, whatever it is. Let it wash through you, let it wash you clear and clean, and then let it wash it out the door. Sweep it out the door. Call Salvation Army to come pick that shit up, because you don't want to keep that in your house, because it will dampen it and will suppress your creativity. So the goal is to use whatever emotions this situation is evoking in you to drive you towards your next step. If you're having this great sense of fear, a very simple thing that you can do is place your hand on your body, breathe, say to yourself, I am safe in this moment, because you are. And let your body take that in. And let your limbic system recalibrate that. Yeah, notice you kind of want to stretch and flop around. Let yourself shake if you need to. Shake all this excess energy out. We have been under like a siege of intensity for months now. And it's not just this final wave of results and information sort of culminating as this whole buildup, like this big giant zit, and now it's like we popped it, and it's like it's out, and it's something open, and now
the volcano started. We get to play with the lava somehow.
and we can see what it's there. And for some of us, the popping of that left a really big, sore, gaping wound. So the thing to do right now is, rather than dig at that wound and let it fester, get that hot compress, which is time and attention taken for yourself. Get that hot compress and place it on that wound. Take care of yourself. Let those feelings come. You are safe right now in this moment, and that is all that your body needs to know to begin to rebuild your vitality and to get ready for the next phase, whatever that might be for you. And as you create sort of this chain awareness of being safe in this moment, and you can be safe into the next moment, and you can be safe into the next moment, and you can be safe into the next moment. And you build this sort of sustainable communication with your own ability to self-regulate by just reaffirming to yourself that you're consistently safe. And when you come into a situation where you're not, that has already become so habitual that instead of flying off into some sort of environmental breakdown because of what's coming at you, you're able to respond in a clear, calm, mature context that maybe wouldn't be available to you if you had been continually hyping yourself up. Yeah. So our prime responsibility right now is to be here, be with what is, and remind yourself that for now, you're safe.
And for people who want to take a more active part in politics, what suggestion do you have for them for how to stay engaged in a way that allows them to, contribute?
Do your fucking emotional work, please. Whatever you want to engage in. But can you imagine a world of politicians who were emotionally clear and people who were engaging in these political standpoints from an emotionally clear standpoint, where they're not overly reactive to all this back and forth information that's going on? They have their own energetic signature in place. They know what's valuable to them, and they're willing to take action to support those values and make those values a reality. That would be hella impressive to me. And not just for politics, but really for every area of your life. Please, 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 please.
Thank you. And I just want to welcome all the people that just joined us. I'm looking at the chat room, and there seems to be more and more people there. And if you have questions for Justice, you're welcome to write in there and chat with us and ask anything you want. We are talking about electing autonomy. So, yeah, somebody says hi. Hi everyone. Welcome. Okay, doing our emotional healing. Yeah, can you imagine what would it take to create a world where all our leaders are so conscious that they have all done their inner child healing?
Right.
Yeah. Then what will be running the country is no longer that abandoned inner child or the abused inner child who needs to react to everything, or
seeking attention, seeking approval, repeating wounds. It would be a very, very different place. And it's something I personally feel, whether you want to be involved in politics or not, or you just recognize that you're part of a collective body, because we are, that our leaders get sort of pushed up out of this collective soup, right? And here underneath the surface, down here under the sea, there's all of this there's all of this turmoil going on. There's all these archetypes, and there's all of these huge, tremendous waves of emotions going on. And every once in a while, you get this perfect storm. It's not every once in a while, it happened with Obama, it's going to happen with this dude. You get this perfect storm where these energies they conflux into this individual, and this individual gets pushed to the surface of our awareness, and we get invited to look at these underlying patterns that are having an effect on all of us by watching the way that this individual carries themselves in the world. And from what I can see, you know, we can't like write Trump and be like, dear Mr. Trump, we would really love it if you would like work on your mommy issues and figure out how to treat women nicely. Like,
I actually thought about that. How can we come together to do distant healing? But I know that would be like not the thing to do. It's about the inner child in all of us.
But we can do that, right?
We can do that for ourselves. For
we can need to do that. And who knows, you know, because he is this embodiment of all of our group darker stuff that's been pushed to the surface for us to look at, in that regard, at the very least, it might shift. It might not shift with him, but it might shift in the way that we as individuals deal with that energy in ourselves, deal with that energy in our life. And that's one really simple way how we can elect autonomy. So I don't like the way that you do this and the way that you treat these people and this energy, these patterns that you run. I don't like them. I don't like it. I don't like it. Well, that's fine. You can put it all out there and on them. Or you can sit back and you can feel into yourself and you can sort of go through your index cards and like, look, okay, where am I holding this energy myself? And it might not be that, you know, that you're out there acting like a misogynist. It might be that you have adapted to the energy so effectively that you've kind of modified yourself to accommodate it. If that makes sense?
Like kind of a codependent without even knowing it.
Totally. And it's one of the ways that like for example, like women will like crave that kind of negative attention, right? It's like I just see that sign. It's like, oh, you can grab my pussy. It's like, why do you think that's a good thing? You think that's a good thing because you have like Stockholm syndrome. Do you not get this?
That's what I was thinking of, and I realized, oh my God, how many more people have that's expressed differently, and they don't even know it. But I am really seeing that more and more people are able to articulate certain things that they normally would not. Like within the last week, I have somebody come to me for help who had, like, she just came out and said, you know, the KKK, I'm the daughter of somebody who is like in it. I'm like, oh my God. And so I do appreciate that what Donald reveals in all of us is that he gives us permission to really see what needs to be dealt with. Because like what Obama said this morning, the presidency is so much bigger than about one person. And government is so much bigger than about one person. The collective consciousness is so much bigger than any one of us. But all of us can contribute something, and all of us can find healing in it, because the political body is somehow embodied in all of us, in our own biology too. And I noticed what you were saying, those codependent patterns. And I remember having grown up in a place where choosing to discipline children in a very rough way was such an everyday thing that I did not know. It was called child abuse here, but where I'm from, it's called discipline. And parents are considered good if you, as a parent, were really strict. But now I see that, you know, they did not know better or whatever. But there's so many people who are running around having accepted that they're doing the same thing unconsciously.
Right.
And while it's easy to say, it's up to you to heal yourself, you cannot heal what you cannot see.
Right. So you need someone to help point it out to you. And that can be pointed out with love and attention sometimes. And sometimes it's pointed out with glaring, horrible discomfort. More route that it takes, right? So it's an opportunity for us to look at our own discomfort and look at, okay, what is this triggering in me? Where do I need to tend to this part of myself more efficiently? And real simply, it's like, okay, I feel afraid. I feel insecure, unsure. Okay, what can I do right now in this moment to tend to myself, to let myself know that I am safe, to assure myself in this moment, and to build, like we were just talking about, to build that sort of new response to feeling assured in spite of whatever external circumstances going on. Because if we want to be electing autonomy, we want to be in a state of autonomy, we have to be extracting this sort of unconscious infestation that it's in us. It's in each and every one of us. And it either grows or it shrinks by what you do or don't do to tend to it. So I look at somebody like Orangey, and I see a person who is infested with that energy, and he's not the only one who has it by a long shot. He's not the only one who thinks the way that he thinks or who does the things that he does. He's just he has become this sort of flag waving to bring our attention to it. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because we can't heal, like you said, we can't heal what we won't look at. And what I noticed, particularly in my news feed, and it's always limited and it always kind of goes off the algorithms of what you tend to kind of pay attention to and notice. So it's kind of hard to get an accurate read about what's going on. And I tend to always on the more cohesive, positive stuff. So I tend to get more of that. But I notice that there's this overwhelming response from people that are saying, yes, we're afraid. Yes, we're grieving because here's the state that we weren't expecting. Here's this outcome that we weren't expecting. And here's this person who triggers and frightens us. And what I'm noticing there's a recognition of that from a lot of people saying, be with your grief, let your feelings move, have the experience that you need to have, and let it move on out. And then there's a huge amount of people who are saying, well, this could be a positive thing. This could be exactly what we need. This could be the change that we're asking for. It might not seem like it because it's the antithesis of what we were outrightly asking for. And yet so many people, I think if there's one thing that this country is in agreement with, is that we are in need of change. We're in need of change in the infrastructure of the way that our leadership functions in this society. How that change unfolds, we might not be in agreement about, but everybody agrees we need change.
Yes, we need things to change somehow, in some way. And so how do we change what's inside of us that needs to change in order to have any effect at all in the world?
So I think first and foremost, you have to be able to create some kind of sense of safety around yourself, even if it's with just that moment-to-moment practice that we were talking about. Because if there's anything that will more assuredly keep you in these sort of lower functioning mental and emotional states, it is being afraid and not feeling safe. You don't have the energy, you don't have the opportunity to raise yourself into higher, more fulfilling, more creative vibrations, right? It's just day-to-day grind and survival stuff, right? So back to what we were talking about before. You have to take that time out for yourself. You have to put your hand on your body, on your chest, on your belly, wherever you feel the most turmoil, and just breathe and just say to yourself, in this moment, I'm safe. And feel that, let that really, really recalibrate your system. Do it as many times as you can, and do it whenever. Who cares if people think you're weird? If you feel safe, fuck them. They're They're not in they're not in your mind, they're not in your body, they don't know what you're experiencing, they don't know what you need to do for yourself. They can't possibly know that. Only you can know. So be that weirdo who walks to the grocery store just like repeating to yourself, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe. and then laugh about it, because it's kind of ridiculous, but it's about building a momentum with yourself in a way that becomes physically believable. And there's so much information that's coming at us all the time that says to the contrary. We really have to, that's something that we kind of have to fight, but you don't fight it by getting all wrapped up in the drama, you fight it by dropping below it. So imagine, this really helps me, imagine that drama kind of, it's like heat, it rises to the surface, right? Mm-hmm. And the more dramatic, the higher the peak, the energy goes. So your goal is not to climb into that state and do this to your body. You're like, right? Your goal is to drop below it, all the way down. And something I've been noticing with people is like, there's so much fear in our butts. Our butts hold so much freaking fear. You gotta like shake your butt, right? Like you can't, if you're shaking your butt, you can't be clamping your cheeks down. And this is silly, but it's so true. Because the first thing, that primal response, you watch animals that have tails, right? The second the energy shifts in the room, their tail drops. They tuck their tail. We have those animalistic instincts. Our bodies do the very same thing. And then what happens is all the organs creep up, tighten up, constrict. We start to, yes, psoas muscle, absolutely. We start to, we shut off we make ourselves anaerobic instead of circulating our breath and our energy. So you gotta loosen your butt. Get the stick out of your butt, uncurl your tailbone, get out there and shake your ass, like go dancing if you need to, physically shake it out. It makes a difference. It really does. It makes a really, really, really big difference. So
because emotions need to be moved through our body rather than be held.
Yes. And we're the only species that does not shake after we have had a traumatic encounter. You watch every single animal out there and they get into some kind of altercation. They get, they get into a fight, ducks get into a fight, a dog gets into an altercation. They walk away from that and they shake all that out of their nervous system so they're not carrying that around inside of them. And we don't do that. And so many of us don't even breathe. So it just builds up and it builds up and it builds up like a pressure cooker. And then somebody comes along and says something, to us on Facebook and we go, bah, everywhere. this vile explosion. And then we look at it, we're like, God, where the fuck did that even come from? It's like, it's been building in you for months and maybe even years, So you gotta shake. You gotta feel.
Yeah, we are so disconnected from the communication from our bodies, because I know that like if I stand up and shake, like I sometimes actually do shake my hands when a lot of energy is coming through, somebody would come up to me and put their hands on my shoulder. Honey, are you okay? Of course I'm okay. I'm just getting a lot of energy. They go, are you sure? And then in their own mind, what they know, their reference points for shaking the body is something like, I don't know, what is it, Parkinson's or tics? Yeah. I think I have tics or whatever. I remember whenever I used to be in energy healing circles or something, I would sit in the back because I would be like, oh.
Yeah.
And then I just had to go to the bathroom instead of being there where somebody would say this. And I find it like even now, going back to talking about kids, they need to express themselves physically. And we are depriving them of physical expression. And it's just so natural to let things go through
Yeah,
body and movement.
comment here in the comment window. Yeah, absolutely, Thomas. We teach our kids from a young age to sit still and behave themselves, and that there's something wrong with them if they can't. Yeah, and it's really unfortunate. There's a school in Seattle. I don't know if it's all across the board here. The kids are not allowed to run. It's like they're not allowed to run because it's become so much of a liability issue that they might fall down and hurt themselves. So they don't actually allow them to, I know, right? Face palm, like, God, we're just destroying these people.
Wow.
So yeah, it's definitely not, it's not very accepted in our society. But I have a response to that. And here's another way where we can elect that autonomy. It's better to be a weirdo than be suffocated.
Yes.
I would rather be weird and looked at cross-eyed and, hexed as a witch than live my life in a fucking straitjacket. Like, say what you will, I don't care. Like, I have a responsibility to my body, to my energy, to my life force, to let it move in the way that it needs to move, and to be the embodiment and the emission of that energy in the way that I need to. If you don't like it, that's your issue. That's not my issue, because I'm not going to physically hurt you by doing it. It just makes you uncomfortable, which reminds you that you're living in a straitjacket too, and you might want to shake that shit the fuck off, because it's not. And you can't, say you're a writer and you're like this, you can't write like this. I mean, come on. Yeah, what am I, a Tyrannosaurus Rex? Like, no, that's not going to work. It's not.
Yeah, there's a good point here. Somebody just brought up on our chat. I think it's Leslie. Thank you, Leslie, about how I notice here that kids are in trouble emotionally. The fear they feel and absorb from adults is so scary for them. Teens here are struggling to know how to survive. How can we help them to see these points of view? Yeah, it's so, it's so different for us to be able to talk about being okay with being weird, because obviously everyone on this call is already empowered enough to be the difference that will make a difference in the world.
Right.
There's so many bright and capable children, teenagers, and very young people who come in this world with incredible gifts and abilities. And yet we have a system, like what Leslie is mentioning, that is just not very allowing of the children to develop in ways that allow us all to benefit from all their gifts.
Yes.
Difference.
Thomas, you can deliver weird. Yes, we can. And we can embody weird, and we can put it out there, and we can let them know that it's okay. The other thing that we can do is, and this is going to sound totally anti-establishment, we can encourage their rebellion. There is a natural rebellious phase that teenagers go through, and as the adults who have already moved through that phase, it is our responsibility to give them space to experience that to a certain degree. Like, not to the degree where they're going to harm themselves or where they're going to be doing harm to property, but to have this realm of self-expression. I love that so many people these days are like dyeing their hair all the colors of the rainbow, And some of the institutions are really frown on that. Like, it's a distraction. I've heard all kinds of nasty stuff, but it's one of the ways that they can express themselves. So we can encourage, we can really embrace our weirdness and put it out there so that they can see it and they can know that that's okay. And then we can encourage them to cultivate their own weirdness, and we can encourage even some rebellion, because they're dealing with all the energy of these corrupt systems that are coming down on them, and they're like these little tender shoots. And this is what I see. It's like there are these little tender shoots trying to come up through the ground, and it's like people are just slamming concrete bricks down on top of them, and it's like they're going to keep growing. Many of them can push through that, and many of them can't. So we need to not not be the ones who are putting those extra concrete blocks on them. Give them space to express and to explore, and encourage that.
Spaciousness, that is such a gift, to be spacious enough to let everyone just be. That's what's really crying out in our bodies and in our hearts, that like we be spacious enough to just allow everyone to be, that everybody else is spacious enough, and that all the laws are be made by somebody who knows what that means. Right? Because it's like, I can't believe it. I don't want to think about what's going to happen in the Supreme Court. That's going to make me scream. Should I scream? No.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, I am like horrified about what's going to happen with our Supreme Court, more than the election results, is the Supreme Court, because whomever is going to be replacing, forgot his name, you know, they have a life term, and
yeah.
As a woman, I'm just a little horrified that.
It's a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But here's something that just came up for me, because I was having this discussion with my honey last night, and here's something that comes up for me right now in this moment. Everything that you just said is a story about a possibility that has not unfolded yet, that is causing current stress in your physical body. So something that we can all really try to limit in ourselves, because I really feel like there is a lot of sensationalist information out there that will never come to fruition in any kind of meaningful way. There's a lot of information that is put out there to specifically evoke these low energy responses and to keep us trapped down in our butts with our tails locked up and feeling like, you know, like we can't wag, we can't be happy, we can't, you know, there's like, we're sad little puppy dogs in cages. Like, there's not enough room to get up and move around, you know? And a lot of that is story. Some of it will come down to getting passed down in legislation. Yes, it will. But until that time, it is more beneficial for us to stand in our strength and in the vision of creating our own story that we want, by holding that presence and that space and that spaciousness within ourselves, moment to moment, you know, our day to day, building that momentum, than it is to fall into any kind of these potential stories that haven't played out yet.
Yeah, I'm really feeling at the moment that, would you like to be able to just do something energetically for everyone on the call, for us to just be so grounded in our own power and do whatever it takes to heal whatever pieces are just like ready to explode. Something's ready to explode. So it would be cool. And I wonder what people on the line are wanting for us to do before the hour ends. So I'm feeling like some process is called for, or some energy transformation, something that you're really good at. So I'm open to whatever shows up at the moment.
Okay. Yeah. Any requests from anybody?
Requests?
They're like, nope, we trust you. So kind of sort of playing off of, and you're welcome to pop in, you guys, and there anything that you want at any time. But kind of playing off what we were just talking about. What I'm noticing, sort of, okay.
Holding onto a better vision. Thank you, Thomas. Yeah.
Okay. So right now we're kind of sitting here, and there are these stories that look like they're like juggling balls kind of floating around us, right? And a lot of them have a lot of fearful content sort of injected into them. So drop that shit. It's not your responsibility to juggle that. And as you put that down, you're likely to get some kind of physical release out of your body, because your body's going to be like, wow, that took a lot of energy to maintain that. What do I do with that energy now? So we're going to let that go. Shake it out, cry it out, feel it out.
What the hell? I didn't know I was holding on to so much. Holy Moses.
So all the energy that it took to keep those going, which were really just potential outcomes that don't have any bearing on our current reality in this moment right now with this body in this space, we had to devote energy that otherwise could be our creative energy to maintaining that dance, that game. Okay, so they're gone. We're not going to do that anymore. Okay, so just take your hands and just bring them to your body, and we just want to connect that core energy, which is down the dantian, out of your belly, up through your vagus nerve, through your heart, really through your whole nervous system, and just invite it to discharge if it still needs to do that. But invite it to give you a signal, for what your signature feels like, what your story feels like, what you want to generate, perpetuate, and put out into the world. And make it your primary responsibility to cultivate that signature. Think of it like right now, like a tender plant. It needs water, it needs sunlight. Eventually it's going to need a bigger pot because it's going to outgrow the current container that it has to express itself in. So pay attention to those needs in yourself. There you go. And feel the way your body just kind of relax and settles down with that. And anytime you're tempted to sort of pop up into those drama spikes, remind yourself of this and remind yourself how much better this feels, how much more stable, how much more life affirming. And choose this. This is the state through which your autonomy is manifested. It's not manifested by looking around at what is going on externally and sort of trying to figure out how you best fit into or against those circumstances. It is established by figuring out what your signature is, feeling into that signature, embracing that signature, becoming that signature, embodying that signature, and putting that signature out into the world through your creative endeavors, through the way that you relate to people, through the projects, through the way that you show up in life in every single area of it.
Just like following your energy instead of following your mind.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
It gets easier because it's so much more appealing. It's a worthwhile practice. And what goes along with it is, once again, what am I going to say? People, emotional fucking clearing. How do you know who you are and how you feel if you're sort of dealing with this conflict of story that exists inside of you? You have to sort that story out. You have to get those characters out there in the field where they belong, and then get down to refining your signature and really honing in on that and sort of deciding, okay, what does that energy want to become? And it might not even be what you want it to become, but if you really ask the energy itself, what does it want to become, it will grow through you and out of you, almost in spite of you. And all you have to do is kind of keep checking in. Okay, how can I better serve you? How can I better be in alignment with this? What do I need to pay attention to? What are the steps that need to be taken at this point in time?
And I just got this insight that so many of us are lost in our thinking mind, because that's like how we were taught to think. And I remember being told, think before you act, think before you act. Whereas like, if I follow my energy in my heart, I would know how to act. It may not be convenient for other people who want me to think through first because I'm saying something they don't like. Yeah, so really being authentic, showing up authentically means sometimes that you are who you are, and there will be people who will react to it in ways that I may not feel like I'm being appreciated. But that's the thing about being so solidly in your energy, that how other people react, you realize, oh, that's none of my business anymore. That's them reacting, and they have a right to, and it's like so fine. So it's just so powerful what we just did. So I wonder how everybody else is feeling. Stinking thinking gets us nowhere.
Thoughts only think thoughts about other thoughts. It was funny. Ching. Something. And it's a tool in the toolbox. But something that I talked about on the video that I made last night is that what I feel it means to be congruent is that your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions are in alignment. So you can think about the feeling as it resonates through your body is in alignment with that thought, and there's an action that follows that thought. And it's definitely not about making other people happy. It's about being in your alignment. Yeah, the 3 times hands, absolutely. And as I'm gonna teach more and more in my own work, it's about having this innocence up here, which is clarity of vision, having this intelligence going on here, which is your emotional intelligence, which is and your communication system, and having your integrity in place down here. I'm coming down towards my pelvis, which is your power seat. And if you can get those in alignment and functioning, like you'll find yourself as an autonomous being. So innocence is not about being naive. It is not about having a positive attitude about everything. It is about seeing things the way they are. Which sometimes looking at things is really crappy. But having...
Oh, that's a good question, Thomas.
Sure.
On the chat box, can we set up new patterns by using conscious movement?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So let's see. So it shows up, and for whatever reason, that's just what I notice. For me right now, and I modify it on your own. What shows up is sort of a sweeping motion across the eye for vision, which is like clearing the lens of perception. Yep. And connecting into the heart and through your intelligence is showing up as like like touching the chest with an open hand, making contact with all 4 fingers and the thumb. And what shows up for the pelvis is having the hands like this on both hip bones, like here and here, sort of guiding down into the pelvic bowl.
Okay.
And if you want to do it out in public, then you're just like, whoop,
Do that again.
People, right? It's like, it's kind of glamorous, like, oh. People are like,
Okay.
whoa, what are you doing? Like, oh, I'm just getting my alignment on. What are you doing?
Oh, I like that. Oh my goodness. Wow. And I wonder for the people on the call, if you guys have any questions or requests before we close the hour, because I think we're going to be ending it on a fun note. So that was great. Thank you, Thomas, for your questions. And thank you, Leslie, and thank you, everybody on the call.
Oh, it's great playing with you guys, sharing space with you.
Okay. I'm going to practice this. We're going to practice a few more times.
It's like old like glamour drama. That's funny. Nice. I'm gonna be doing that a lot now.
So Leslie, yes, I am going to, once this is done recording, I'm going to upload and process it, and then it will be on YouTube forever and ever. Oh my God, thank you so much for this entire call and for this beautiful energy that you just created, and just for bringing us all back to our signature and ending this on a really fun note that allows me to look glamorous and be in alignment.
Look glamorous and be in alignment. What more could you ask for?
Glamorous alignment. I mean, geez, I wasn't even thinking.
Yeah, I love where that went. Thank you guys so much for your participation, and much love to all of you.
Yes, thank you, everybody. So, all right, I guess this would be, this would be a good time to end this call. So I will have this posted as soon as it's all processed. Bye. Thank you, Justice. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Okay.